Welcome to the Pocket Protectors. I'm Steve Benz of the Net Intentions. This week, Bill Gates finally takes a stand in his company's 4-year-old antitrust case. He says the penalty sought by 9 states would set the Windows operating software back a decade. Paul Baker, CEO of Webatex, what do you think? Is he right? Is it really going to affect his operating system?
Well, depending on what they make him do, if they make him do anything, it will. I mean, we're developers and designers. From our point of view, basically one operating system makes life a lot easier for us, but on the other hand, competition is good for moving things forward.
Right. Essentially what he says is that Explorer cannot be removed from the Windows operating system.
I'm sure they probably could, but they've been building Explorer into a lot of the components of Windows as they move forward, and there are a lot of arguments as to why that's good from a user point of view and from a developer point of view. For instance, we're using some components, some Explorer components in some of our content management systems that wouldn't be there. We'd have to substitute something else.
Now, could you use that if you're using Netscape or one of the other browsers?
No.
You could still go and get Explorer from the site. I mean, they're talking about not bundling it with the operating system.
Right.
And this was the major bone of contention back in 1998 when one of the remedies the Justice Department sought was possibly putting a competitor's web browser with the operating system, which is just doesn't make sense for you as a business. That's the wrong remedy for a clear problem. So, obviously Netscape has been gutted ever since they were absorbed, and there really isn't any competition to speak of. So I don't even think people would notice. People would still go online and they would get Internet Explorer. It doesn't have to be packaged with the operating system in any way.
Yeah, Netscape hasn't made a serious attempt to compete.
Right.
Well, isn't this kind of a moot point almost? I mean, it's clear that there's really no money in the web browser business.
Right.
I mean, it's a free product here, so I'm not sure even, if we took Explorer, let's say hypothetically, out of the Windows operating system, who exactly is going to step in and want to compete? I mean, there's no money to be made in the browser business.
No. Bob, you're Vice President over at Verona Star. We're hearing rumors that Netscape is going to come back with AOL. Now that AOL is trying to break up their contract with Explorer. Is that viable even for Netscape to get back in the game?
No, I don't think it's viable, and I think what the problem is that the government moves at glacial speed. By the time the government comes
What are you really saying?
Well, I was going to take a ride on the glacier, but I found out it moved 3 millimeters a year. The problem is real simple. By the time the government gets around to punishing Microsoft, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. That's 100% correct. I mean, the bigger issue right now is let's look at XP. And now we're having things like, their Messenger is bundled in, the Windows Media Player. I mean, those are areas where the government seems unaware.
Passport's
Yeah, they look at Passport, Mailstore, things like this. I mean, they've moved on to new additions, new complements, if we will. And the government's still playing the 1998 game, as Bob said. I mean, they're just way behind the times. But
the government will never be able to police this issue. It's stupid to police this issue.
You just can't be timely. There's no way they can do it.
And besides, the government's using Microsoft operating system, and they like Internet Explorer.
We have a court and a judge trying to determine this, and they know even less than the average government technologist. So I guess we should hope that nothing happens. I don't know.
So Microsoft dominance is really just bad for the consumer? Is that what we're saying?
I wasn't saying that. I think Gates is exaggerating the impact of withdrawing from the operating system. I mean, you've heard me lambaste them on many occasions.
Once or twice.
Once or twice. So I never have to repeat myself on that, but it doesn't mean that the government is not ill-founded in how they're attacking them now.
Matt, what do you think?
Well, I look at it this way. I think Microsoft's arguments that they can't pull out Explorer, some of the comments I've seen Gates make recently, it's probably a weak argument technically, and it's not true. That being said, do we really want a tech industry all of a sudden that doesn't have one dominant platform, it doesn't have Windows as a dominant standard for applications we built on top of? I think there's a lot of benefits. As much as there's quote problems to Microsoft, to having them be as dominant as they are for the rest of us.
I would tend to agree. I mean, Microsoft is kind of a benevolent dictatorship. If they turn it into a non-benevolent dictatorship, we got big problems. Which is why, as Gates used to say, whenever Gates tries to get into a field, he always says 2 is a wonderful number. And it's true. It's true. When they developed TrueType to compete with PostScript, that was one of his major arguments. Our experience with Microsoft has been very good. They've been very responsive. We were early beta testers of early versions of Windows. We're a company run by technologists. They really knew what they were doing. generally speaking, our experience has been very good, but it could be very bad. And if Microsoft changes, then we need, we need competition. So you always want some you got competition in the Unix world. You got a little bit of competition from Apple, not very much.
Yeah,
I think point about why the suit fell apart, though. The states that kind of broke off as bandits in this deal, they were concerned because the language in the initial settlement didn't really establish a timetable for the payments that they would be making. Now, if that had been more clear and precise, we would have never had this big split. It could have been solved at the time. But I think it was also Microsoft's intention to stretch this out as long as possible and not make the language so confining that they would basically be down to the canvas. So.
Well, it's more than that. One of the major states is California, and California's got a lot of large...
And Sun as well.
Sun and Oracle and all the major Microsoft opposition, so they had politicians there had little...
I think you got to look deeper into the problem. The problem isn't whether Internet Explorer is bundled into the Windows operating system.
Right.
The problem is there any competition to Microsoft in the marketplace? One of the reasons why the Unix platform is so robust is and there's arguments that it's also too fragmented, but the reason why it's so robust is because it's a very open architecture, and a lot of people can play in it and
it's been around forever.
Ideas, and it's been around forever. The problem with Microsoft is Microsoft changed its model around 1990, where originally their whole idea was very, very similar, to support development using their platform and to really encourage offshoots of a lot of little pieces of Microsoft's operating system. In about 1990, when they started to get into the Windows platform and they realized that that was going to make it very cumbersome, they stopped that process. And they.
But that's their choice, and I don't see for the life of me why the government should be able to penalize them for that.
Well, no, I think the problem is that the Microsoft operating system